So this is the new 16-inch M3 Max MacBook Pro with maxed out CPU and GPU cores and the base model RAM of 48 gigabytes for a total price tag of $3,999 US. So first things first, let's talk about this new space black color. Now it's not quite black like what you'd get on a Razer Blade laptop, for example. I'd call it more of a very dark gray. I was worried it would be the same fingerprint magnet as the midnight color on the MacBook Airs, and I did notice the trackpad picks up some smudges, especially compared to the normal silver color, but I'm happy to report that fingerprints and smudges, etc. don't really seem to be that bad. So it seems like Apple's anodization seal technology, or whatever that means, is working, at least for now. We'll see how it holds up over time. So let's check out the performance. How does the M3 Max compare? And note that I'm gonna be doing, like full comprehensive comparisons in the coming weeks. This is just a really quick one at some areas that I found really interesting. Looking at the individual CPU cores, the M3 Max gets a little performance boost over M2 Max. But to be fair, even compared to M1 Max or M1 Ultra, there's not a significant difference, but single cores don't tell the full story. Looking at the multi-core CPU benchmarks, the M3 Max absolutely destroys both M2 and M1 Max chips. And it even comes close to the desktop M2 Ultra. I think the biggest takeaway here is that it only took Apple 18 months to cram the power of a desktop chip like the M1 Ultra into a laptop. I mean, we can hate on Apple all we want, but you've got to admit that that is pretty impressive. But the M3 Max still falls short of the most powerful Intel laptop CPU, the i9-13980HX. Now there's a lot more to this comparison than I want to cover in this video, so I'll do a full comparison in a separate video later on. Taking a look at some real life workflows like compiling code, the M3 Max was twice as fast as the M1 Max, completing the task in just under 8 minutes compared to 14.5 minutes. But take a look at the M1 Ultra. I mean, those scores are almost identical to the M3 Max. Moving on to the GPU, again, I'm using the maxed out 40 GPU core version of the M3 Max. And although on paper the M3 Max only has 2 additional GPU cores over the M2 Max, it seems all those improvements Apple talked about are making a big difference. So if you use Blender, you'll instantly notice the GPU performance difference. Despite only having 2 more cores, the M3 Max destroyed the M2 Max and was twice as fast as the 48-core M1 Ultra. Now note that the M1 Ultra can be configured to a maximum of 64 GPU cores, but I thought it was fairer to compare the 48-core version here. Amazingly, M3 Max isn't that far behind the most powerful desktop Mac you can buy right now, the 76 GPU core M2 Ultra. And it looks like the difference between M2 and M3 Max mostly translates into real life. I was able to render the barbershop scene in Blender a full 10 minutes faster on M3 Max compared to M2 Max. However, more creative workflows like rendering a 2D animation in After Effects, for example, sees less of a difference. So it really does depend on what exactly you're doing. But I will cover all of the creative stuff like music production, video editing, and Photoshop, for example, in a separate video. Moving on to some more GPU comparisons, let's focus on M2 Max versus M3 Max. Using the new GPU benchmark on Cinebench 2024 shows a huge difference. I had to run this one a few times because I couldn't believe it, but it's legit. However, the difference shrinks dramatically when comparing the two in Geekbench. And taking a look at gaming, you can see a similar result. The M3 Max does pull ahead of the M2 Max, but not by a huge margin. It might seem a little underwhelming, but remember that it's still twice as fast as the M1 Max and just slightly faster than the 48-core desktop M1 Ultra that was only released 18 months ago. Perspective really matters. Now, there are 2 really important things to note with GPU performance as well. Firstly, it's currently unclear how the new hardware-accelerated ray tracing and mesh shading, and obviously the dynamic caching features on M3 Max actually impact performance. And it's also pretty unlikely that any applications or programs, for example, have been updated or optimized to take advantage of that new technology. Remember that the M2 Max and M2 Ultra have had over 6 months of optimizations and improvements and updates compared to the M3 Max, which has been out for about 12 hours at the time of recording this video. So these results, particularly the gaming differences, might actually change a lot in the future, especially with future ray tracing support. And secondly, remember that the M3 Max has an additional 16 gigabytes of unified memory compared to the M2 Max, because you can't max out the GPU cores on the M3 Max without selecting the 48 gigabyte RAM option. This partly explains some of the performance differences. So yeah, M3 Max is looking very, very impressive so far. I mean, in terms of CPU, we are well and truly outperforming the M2 Max, and we're pretty much on par or exceeding the M1 Ultra, which is a desktop Mac and was only released 18 months ago. And same with the GPU. I mean, we get a performance boost in every single area, some more than others. For example, Blender, we're seeing a massive improvement there. And I also think, like I said before, things like gaming, and ray tracing support, all of that stuff is gonna come to the M3 Max in the next couple of weeks and the next couple of months. So I'm not gonna put too much emphasis on those differences right now. This would be a really cool topic to revisit in 3 or 4 months when all of that stuff has been updated. But like always, if there's anything in particular you want to see, let me know down below. But apart from that, I'm gonna get back to benchmarking these bad boys, and I'll catch you in the next one.